Here's an uncomfortable observation about modern life. You can do everything right. Get the degree, land the six-figure job, buy the nice car, upgrade the apartment, and still wake up at 2 a.m. with that tightness in your chest, wondering where all the money went. We see this narrative everywhere. The doctor who drives a leased BMW but has zero savings, the tech consultant in London or New York who eats out every night but is drowning in credit card float, the young couple in Berlin or Austin who just got a raise and immediately signed up for a bigger mortgage and a new car loan. They aren't poor, they aren't irresponsible in the traditional sense. They are victims of a silent psychological tax. It's the tax of just one more. If you have ever wondered why you are earning more than your parents did at your age, yet you feel financially tighter than they ever did, stay with me. Because today, we aren't going to talk about budgeting apps or penny pinching. We're going to talk about the invisible ceiling that keeps high earners stuck. Before we dive deep, if you find value in logic-based, no-hype financial discussions, consider hitting that like button and subscribing. It helps the channel bring you more of these deep dives. Let's look at a realistic example. Meet David. He's 32, lives in a major metropolitan area, could be Chicago, could be Manchester. He's a project manager, and his partner Sarah works in marketing. Together, their household income is $150,000 a year. On paper, they're winning at life. They're in the top tier of earners. But let's look at the reality of their cash flow. After tax, they bring home about $8,750 a month. Sounds great. Their one-bedroom luxury apartment in the city center costs $2,800 a month. They need that car, a nice Audi, because commuting and image matter in their industry. That lease is $650. Student loans, because David went to a good school, cost $700 a month. Add in utilities, groceries, and the unavoidable high cost of city living, and they're left with maybe $2,500 in discretionary cash. But here's where the story shifts. That discretionary cash isn't saved. It goes to brunches on Saturday, a Peloton subscription they barely use, a vacation to somewhere warm, and new clothes for Sarah's work events. At the end of the month, the bank account hovers near zero. They aren't buying yachts. They're buying a lifestyle that is exactly one paycheck away from disaster. The common diagnosis for David and Sarah is that they spend too much on coffee or avocado toast. But that's lazy analysis. The real killer isn't the coffee, it's the escalation. 5 years ago, David was driving a used Honda and living with roommates. He was happy. But as his income increased, a psychological shift happened, called the Hedonic Treadmill. As you make more, your baseline for what is normal increases. When David got his first promotion, he thought, I work hard. I deserve a nicer apartment. Just one more stop on the subway to get a better view. Then the next promotion, I'm a professional now. I need a car that reflects that. Just one more tier up in luxury. Then the next, we work so hard, we deserve a nice vacation. Just one more exotic trip to reset. Individually, each of these decisions is rational. You should enjoy the fruits of your labor. But collectively, they create a massive structural problem. You aren't spending money on things anymore. You're spending money to maintain an identity. And the cost of maintaining that identity rises faster than your salary does. The system isn't designed to make you broke by buying stupid stuff. It's designed to make you broke by upgrading your lifestyle to match your income, dollar for dollar.
Let's do the math that David and Sarah never did. That extra $400 a month for the nicer apartment? Over 10 years, if invested in the S&P 500, that's roughly $80,000 lost, money that could be a down payment on a permanent asset. That $650 car lease? If they bought a reliable $20,000 car instead of leasing a $50,000 one and invested the difference of roughly $400 a month, over 30 years at a modest 7% return, we aren't talking about thousands. We are talking about nearly $450,000. $450,000. That's the real cost of driving a nicer car in your 30s. It's not the monthly payment that hurts. It's the future wealth you are burning to feed the psychological need to look successful today. David and Sarah aren't broke because they are bad people. They are broke because they traded long-term optionality for short-term status. And status, by its very nature, is fleeting. Next year, there will be a newer model, a trendier vacation spot, a hipper neighborhood. The just one more game is a game you cannot win. Why do intelligent people fall into this trap? It comes down to a primal instinct, social comparison. We don't compare ourselves to the average person. We compare ourselves to our peer group. If you are a high earner, your peer group is other high earners. You're in a room full of people who all got raises, so your raise doesn't make you richer relative to them. It just raises the stakes. In Europe, this manifests as pressure to own property in the right arrondissement or zip code. In the US, it's the car in the driveway, but the psychology is the same. We spend to signal our tribe membership. There is also a concept called invisible debt. It's not debt on a balance sheet, it's the debt of future obligation. When you sign that lease on the luxury apartment, you're signing a contract that says, I promise to stay stressed and chained to this desk for the next 2 years so I can keep living here. You've sold your freedom for square footage. So, how do you step off the treadmill? It starts by redefining what rich means to you. The financially intelligent person doesn't look at the guy in the Porsche and think, I want that. They look at the guy in the Porsche and think, I wonder how much of his freedom that cost him. They understand a simple truth. Wealth is what you don't see. Wealth is the financial assets that are quietly growing in accounts you don't check every day. Wealth is the freedom to say no to a boss or to take a lower-paying job you actually enjoy. David and Sarah's colleague, Marcus, drives a 7-year-old Honda. He lives in the slightly less fancy neighborhood. At the company party, people might think he's just average, but Marcus has a brokerage account that kicks off enough dividends to cover his basic expenses. Marcus has FU money. Marcus is actually wealthy. He just doesn't look it on brunch on Sunday. The shift is simple to understand, but hard to execute. Stop managing your money to impress people you don't even like, and start managing it to give yourself a future you actually want. The trap of just one more is powerful because it feels like progress. Every upgrade feels like a reward for your hard work. But if you aren't careful, you wake up 20 years later with a garage full of depreciated assets and a resume full of jobs you hated, with nothing to show for it but payments. You don't need a financial advisor to tell you to stop spending. You need to recognize the psychological itch that tells you that one more thing will make you happy. It won't, but financial independence might. If this conversation made you think a little differently about your next upgrade, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that thoughtful finance matters. And subscribe if you want to stay ahead of the psychology of money. Thanks for watching.